I'm in the gym a lot, before practice, after practice. I show up late nights, so I think just figuring it out and trusting the game. So, for sure.
You got a lot of ball left to play, but for both of you guys, your first season in the green and gold, just what has it meant to you to be here in this season?
Yeah, I think it's meant a lot to me. I know this has been like a new start for me. So I've really taken it all in. It's crazy how it's about to be over because it felt like it just started. But no, there's these guys I've met, well, these girls, I guess, I've met, like, they're the best. And so they make this so much more fun just to play with them and just to have fun. And so now I can't imagine my life without them, so they're stuck.
KJ, for you having played in these conference tournaments before, I know you now here at Baylor. What's your biggest takeaway, maybe for someone like Markayla who hasn't played in this kind of tournament?
This is fun. I think conference tournaments are fun because everyone's even. Everyone has a chance. And yes, some people have to play more games before we do, but it's still a high level of competition. It's fun. It's what you want to play for because now you can get some revenge you wasn't able to get during the regular season. So it's just fun, and all the opportunities for women's sports is amazing.
Markayla, ask you a little more about what Jerry asked you. It feels like you've really your shots lately, your shot selection has changed the way. Is that something you felt when you're on the floor? It seems like you're hitting those spots that you really get your highest percentage shots.
Yeah, I do. I would say so. I would thank the coaching staff for just letting me figure it out, and also them helping me. Okay, this is your spot. Your high percentage in this area, and so I've really been intentional about hitting those spots. But yeah, I'd say the coaching staff has helped me.
KJ, obviously you weren't here last year, but honestly, a really similar spot for this team right now. Just in terms of like getting the opportunity maybe to return back here to host. How important is that to string together a few wins for all these seniors that are trying to come back here and play in front of the home fans?
Oh, it's super important. We want to host so bad. I think that's our main thing going into this tournament. Like, we got to make a deep run. Of course, we want to make it to the championship, and I feel like we can. But it's going to take some work. It's going to take some work because we want to come back to these fans and just to be home. It's just a different feeling being home, and having that advantage during this huge tournament is super important. So I think it's something we're definitely keeping our eye on.
Y'all haven't played Colorado or Kansas, either one, in a while. How much did you just dive into what you did last time, or more look at what they've done more recently?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, these teams have been playing at a very high level here recently. And so, it's going to be a different game. It's going to be a different game. We got to look and we got to watch a lot of film, do a lot of scout, but just come out and play our game. We got to play as a team and play as one, defend like we know how to. They're very good teams. It's not going to be just an easy game. No game in the Big 12 is easy. So I feel like we're ready for that.
Yeah, Markayla, obviously lone freshman on the team. First season, first year in Waco. What is this culture and Coach Nikki and these girls meant to you?
Sorry. It's been a lot. It's been so fun. Like, if you haven't noticed on all the media, I'm always smiling. And it is true. None of it. Sorry. None of it is fake. Like, I'm having a great time here between all the seniors and just everybody. Honestly, I'm just really happy to be here. The culture is great. We all gel really well. Taking it back to the summer, we all did not like the track, but we all had fun just reminiscing about it and just bringing it up now. And it's just crazy that I'm about to be a sophomore and everybody's like going in different directions. But overall, I'm having a really, really good time.
Thank you.
On, I've watched both teams a lot, just whether it's they're playing common opponents that we're about to face, so, or I'm just watching basketball. But I'm more apt to look at how did they guard us, what did they hurt us with, and you've got two very different type of teams because Colorado was uber physical and it was a defensive-minded game, and Kansas played man 2-3 box and one. They played everything. So very, very different teams, both offensively and defensively. So we're more focused on what can we do regardless of opponent to prepare. And to me, it's one of the focuses we've had is screening, when we screen versus when we don't screen, when we get a paint touch versus when we don't get a paint touch. I think in conference play, when we get a paint touch, we shoot almost 55%. Without a paint touch, we're like 35%. So there's the biggest difference. And we take more paint touch shots than non-paint touch shots, but we got to drive the volume of non-paint touch shots down to really be more efficient.
We had 4 players on the All Big 12 team. A lot of good players in the conference. What does it mean to you to see Bugs, Bella, Jen, and Tilly honored?
Yeah, excited for them. I certainly think Bugs should have been first team, considering she's the only player in the league averaging a double-double. But that doesn't mean that when you go down the list that there's someone that I would go, okay, well, that player doesn't deserve it. And we're all a little biased in terms of what players did against us. And, when coaches put up 4 players for all conference, sometimes it's who played the best against you as opposed to, because you've got a lot of balance. We were talking about Colorado. I mean, they have 4 players that are averaging about the same, and so, I kind of lean into coaches' rank in that scenario, but happy for them. Great to see Bugs on the all-defensive team as well. That wasn't something we would even be talking about a year ago. So that's a massive jump for her. Obviously Jana wasn't playing last year. So excited for them. Obviously Talia, I don't think it was any surprise. But, I think it just shows, like, obviously we had 2 kids on the all-defensive team. So people respect our defense, and I'm happy for them.
Markayla, the last 3 games, obviously the points are up, but what have you thought of her shot selection, and where's kind of the increased productivity coming from?
Yeah, I think some of it is just some of it's opportunity, some of it's need. I thought against TCU, we needed someone to attack that matchup, and I just thought she did a good job of she's understanding what her spots are. I think when we started the year, she thought all spots were her spots. So I think understanding where she's most efficient, where she's most effective, and I thought that, she was obviously a big difference maker in the third. I thought she was tentative in the first half against TCU, and then, I challenged her at halftime to be more aggressive. We needed scoring. And I thought she stepped up. And when she made one, that's kind of the kid she is. Like, when she makes one, I think the basket is always big to her, but the basket gets bigger, So it's been fun to see her, kind of get over the freshman hump that a lot of kids hit. And I think she hit it too. I think she hit it in December and January where the game was spinning. People scouted her better. They were daring her to shoot the 3, and it's hard when you believe that you're a good 3-point shooter to turn down shots that you think you can make. But when the analytics say that's not a good shot for us right now, kind of learning that, because every kid makes that transition. There are very few kids. The only kids we've signed that weren't the best player on their team or whatever, it might be a kid at an IMG or a DME where they're playing with other really good players, and so maybe they're not the leading scorer, and they learn to share. But otherwise, every kid that comes here, is going to be the leading scorer, the go-to. Probably doesn't have a yellow light, let alone like a red light on a shot. So I just think I don't think she's ever lost her confidence. confidence. I just think she's kind of lost her moxie in a stretch where it was like the things were just moving fast, and she wasn't keeping up.
Nikki, when you look towards kind of being in that same spot as you were last year heading into this tournament, does that help? I know there's plenty of players that didn't experience that last year, but what have you taken into this whole experience knowing it's almost the same scenario?
Yeah, the hard part is there's just, as much as we have returners, how we play, it's different, and every team's different. I thought last year's team had massive growth from the year before because we had lost in the tournament and we had so many returners. But I think this is a little different. For this group, it's their first win in advance, lose and go home. And I've never been, and you guys probably have recognized this, I'm never going to come up here and lobby. Like, I leave that up to the people that are in those rooms. But, I want us to be playing good basketball. So our focus has been, what is it going to take to beat a Colorado or Kansas? And then we'll worry about the next opponent after that. I think our bounce back has been really good this year, in terms of, and I look at it and I'm disappointed in our losses, of course, but I also know we haven't had a bad loss all season. We just haven't had a game where people are like, well, believe me, I think everyone thinks we should win every game, and that's our goal. But I want to bounce back. I want to play well regardless of our opponent, and then give ourselves a chance to get back to the finals. And so it's going to be just a matter of us doing a good job prepping, recovering, and hopefully we make some shots on that glass floor.
Yeah, kind of going along those lines, if you guys wanted to get back here, do you feel like the road is you have to win it all in Kansas City?
Great question. I don't know if we have to win it, but I think we've got to get to the championship, and we maybe need help, in terms of people that are all on that 4-line, 5 line. What do they all do? Do they lose early in their conference tournament? So I think some of it's out of our control. I think if we win the whole thing, I think we'll have a realistic shot. But I also think that depends on, what does Michigan State do? What does Maryland do? What do all those Big Ten teams that they had on the 4-line? Some of them lost their last regular season game, but what do they do in the conference tournament? So I think we have to play well, but I also think it probably is going to come down to, like, which of those teams make a late run? Do any of them go out early? Do they open the door? When you look at some of the teams that have been on the bubble already going out in the first rounds of the tournaments, like, that's good for the teams in our league fighting, on the bubble. But I don't usually wish people losses so that, we can gain. But certainly, I think the only way we guarantee it is winning it.
Yeah, Coach, I want to talk about Talia, KJ, and Markayla here in their first season. It's crazy to say that, but in their first season, just what have they meant to this culture, this program, being here just a year?
Yeah, I think Talia is, while maybe not necessarily a leader in terms of, a real vocal player, she's obviously become a leader on the court because your best player is usually the one people follow, and so, you got to lean in. And I thought the TCU game was a tough thing for her. I put my arm around her after the game when we were walking to media, and she was pretty down. And I said, it's not always easy to be Batman. These are the moments that it's fun. It's fun to be Batman when you win, but and you go on College game day. And, you get to be talked about and dissected and all those things. But, that's the great challenge. That's the pressure of being in that situation. So I think she's handled pressure really, really well. I think she's got a ton of growth. I think this is her first full season playing college basketball. So, when you think about that, this is, even though she's a junior and she's been around the block, she hasn't been in these moments. So super proud of, the way she has succeeded on the court, and her heart for her teammates. I think KJ has been awesome because there's players who are given like new life. She obviously was a part of a winning culture and a great team at Oklahoma. So she's not someone that doesn't understand what winning looks like or feels like, being the person out there blocking shots, rim running. I think she has a lot of gratitude, and I don't think there's ever been a moment where it was Kyla played more in this game versus her, or because it's just all more than what she's had for the last 3 years. And so I think there's been a gratitude in the way she shows up. And then Markayla, I mean, she's a freshman, like doing freshman things, but she's easy to love because of her personality. No one is her own hype man more than her that I've ever coached. But she's obviously celebrates her teammates, and probably of the players that I've had here over a 5-year period, no one's been in the gym more than her but Jada Walker. Like those, when I think about players that have a chance to succeed because of their work ethic alone, Markayla's going to get better because she wants it, and wanting's a lot, but the execution of that is being in the gym. And I think when she was going through some of her struggles early, she didn't understand it because it was, I'm in the gym, I'm working on it, the ball's going in the basket when I'm shooting with my brother, or I'm shooting with a coach, and so it's just a different mentality. Like, the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores, and anyone that's ever been a freshman says that was the best thing about being a freshman too. So, I remember, I think it was Bugs and Bella talking about excited to see her growth because they know how good she's going to be, and how so much of her struggles just are attributed to just being a freshman and the bright lights and all the expectations in terms of understanding player personnel, and so yeah, I think it's they've all had good years in obviously different ways, but all have impacted us in a huge way on and off the court.
Kind of on the reverse side of that, Bugs, Bella, and Jana, kind of the beginning of the end for them. What have you seen from them this past week, knowing that, this is their last postseason play that they'll spend in the green and gold?
Yeah, I'm not sure I've seen anything different. Obviously, Bugs was pretty emotional after the TCU game. She's been a pretty even-keeled player, but I certainly think that was a chance to put a banner up. And I think they all felt that. I think their legacy matters. They've all had different paths, but it doesn't mean that ultimately, individually and collectively, they haven't had great success. And I think, Jana came back, and obviously has had her best year, and that's a testament to her. I've seen a lot of players not return from an ACL as quickly or as productively as she has. Like you wouldn't know it. She's certainly does her rehab and whatever, but when you think about aches and pains and people missing, and she just hasn't missed a beat that way. And Bugs and Bella are just, they've been a centerpiece in some capacity from the minute they stepped on campus, and they've been a centerpiece on and off the court as ambassadors of our program, as Bugs is a captain, 3-year captain. I mean, my biggest question when I think about their departure is who leads. Who leads? It's been pretty obvious for 5 years who was going to lead our program, and this is the first time that will be a question. And we'll need someone to really step up. Vocally and in terms of like making sure everyone's on the same page. And so, I think Bugs those three have been such a huge part of defining our culture, and establishing it, and getting people to understand what the standard is. And so that's where, leadership's going to matter next year, because we didn't really have to worry about it for the last couple of years.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.